Right, good evening everybody. Welcome to a rather wet and dark January day in 2023. Happy New Year to you all. So first of all, as far as housekeeping, there are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening. Therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the building immediately. The fire exit is located at the rear of this room. Go down the stairs and meet in the War Memorial Park. If I can ask everybody to ensure that their mobile phones are either off or switched on to silent, that would be much appreciated. And just to remind everybody that this meeting is being webcast live on the internet, and I'll just check that that's happening. It is. Thank you very much. First of all, we have apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Isett. Any other apologies? I think we're all here. Any declarations of interest? No, I have none. I don't have any urgent matters. We have the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of December 2022. Are we happy these are true and accurate record for me to sign them off?
Yep.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I'll do that in a minute. Then we move on to item 5, which is the motion referred from Council for the protection of the borough's rivers and waterways. We have several speakers on different items. On this item, I only have Councillor Harvey. Paul, do join us to the microphone. I'll start the clock for your 4 minutes and give you 1 minute's warning towards the end, if that's all right. So when you're ready.
Thank you, Sam. It's going to be musical chairs tonight. We'll get there. Thank you very much. The Council and other agencies have not been good at protecting our rivers from pollution and degradation to date. We've identified through the local plan process that monitoring that this Council has committed to, as well as by the Environment Agency, so not just this Council but the Environment Agency too, has not been followed through consistently, and so we lack accurate data. We've allowed applications for battery storage facilities on the banks of the River Loddon to be recommended for approval, because our policies are not strong enough to pick up on the essential concerns of protecting the river from toxic chemicals. We worry about nitrate neutrality and pursue offsetting policies for farms down in Eastleigh, rather than seek to resolve the issue at source, so the pollution can continue as long as the developer buys credits from farms at the other end of the county. We don't talk about the phosphate pollution in the same way, and we know from the evidence presented to EPH the risk posed by the increased release of phosphates into the River Test and Loddon. It was extremely disappointing that Dave George's excellent presentation was not included in the minutes of the EPH meeting, and I'm not sure where we capture that detailed information that he presented, other than a summary that's been presented thus far. The lack of infrastructure proposed by our water companies to adequately tackle the issues is an essential part of the problem. But we have weak planning policies locally and nationally that allow them and developers to get away with harming our precious taught rivers. It's not good enough just to have the policy, it's the strength it offers to achieve the results we all want. Now, I know members have been in help drafting future policy, and that's the right way to go about it. Let's work together on this. But I do think it is time to push back. We need to make our policy much stronger, and to really drive an agenda that everyone will recognise has actually got teeth to protect our rivers. The motion's really good, and it's now down to what actions from this, in your role as executive members steering the council, giving us an opportunity to help you shape the policy that will hopefully transform the situation. But it cannot carry on as it has been. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'll ask the portfolio holder to respond to the motion.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Harvey. I've noted everything you said. Obviously, the motion went to full council in December. Officers are working with us to put together responses to those, and pretty confident those should go out by the end of this week, if not early next week. And I'm happy to share copies of those letters with all members. And also had an email today from officers regarding policies and the importance of them. I have only got back off holiday today, but there's suggestions in there about the officers sharing that with group leaders, so the responses to government policies and consultations can actually come jointly across party, which I've got no issue with, and I've just mentioned it to the leaders, so I think we'll work together in that regard as well, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Hayley. I think it's also important to note, because I'm not sure about the complete accuracy of what you've said, Councillor Harvey, because you cite very specifically one planning application as far as the battery storage on Basingstoke Fen, and I think we should also be really clear about what our policies do and don't allow us to do, and actually where some central government legislation needs to change. And I think we should, as a council, put on record our thanks to the Chief Fire Officer, Neil Odin, because actually at the moment we don't have the ability within central government legislation to have a statutory consultee for something like a battery storage, being the fire authority, when we know the devastating consequences of a fire at a storage facility like that would have on the ecology of the locality. And I think it's really important, when we are really keen to be at the cutting edge of let's call it climate change, green infrastructure, that actually some of those things are going to be really new, aren't they? And actually we need to make sure the legislation keeps up, so that therefore we have the right levers to pull at the same time. So I think there are some of those things that we need to make sure that we work together with on our partners as well. I wasn't asking for a response.
Would you add me one little supplementary? At Planning Committee, one of the issues that has come up is exactly that. So I welcome what you're saying, and one of the issues has been that as Planning Committee we can't take the fire authority's rules into consideration, and that is really frustrating when you're talking about the safety issues associated with battery storage. No one's against the technology, it's just the technology has to be safe. So that's a pretty fundamental issue, so I would agree with you, but where we take it is worth a conversation, because at the moment the Planning Committee cannot use it.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for the Basingstoke MP Maria Miller's contribution, because I know she's been very supportive and working with Neil on making sure that that point is made as far as the legislation changes, which I'm sure will be really helpful for us. So we note that motion from full council as far as item 5, and then move on to item 6, which is the motion referred from council for building affordable homes, which we have 3 speakers with us. We have Councillor Slimin, Councillor Harvey, Councillor Jones, and I intend to take them in that order if I may. Councillor Slimin, if you'd like to join us. When you're ready, I'll start the clock and give you 1 minute warning. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. This motion is one that was moved at council on the 15th of December, and I see that we've got the press next to us. Unfortunately, they haven't reported on it yet, although they reported on all the others. So I hope that they will bother to look at the website and report on this one, because in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, it is a very important motion that we should not dismiss out of hand. I know that you've got to talk about whether or not you're going to allocate any resources for research to see whether you can produce a report for us, but please do so. This is a very important issue, and it's getting more important by the day. Yesterday on the news, it was reported that private rents have gone up by 4% already, and are expected to go up even more. This is going to push even more people out of the possibility of being able to either rent or live or buy in a home, and therefore there are going to be more people sitting on our waiting list. Currently, there are over 3,000 people wanting one-bedroomed homes. I was speaking to a planning consultant a few days ago, and obviously house builders are not interested in building these types of homes because there is no money in it for them. And so we will never, ever manage to get to the bottom of this list. It is likely to be single people or couples just setting off, and they cannot afford, on the salaries that they're getting with the cost of inflation, to be able to buy their homes in the future. Philosophically, some of you may think that the only thing that people need to do is buy their own home, but it is becoming more and more impossible for people. Hence why I believe, and others supported it, that we should build our own houses. Now, I know that we are no longer have council houses, and therefore we don't come under some of the rules, but the paperwork I sent you that's from the Royal Town Planning Institute is actually quite a comprehensive document telling you how you can do this, even if you are not currently a housing authority. There are ways around everything, and other people way across the country have been doing this. This morning I was on the Transport Forum, the Hampshire Transport Forum, and there were people from the New Forest talking about the council houses that they've been building. Now, if the New Forest can build it, why on earth can't Basingstoke? Why can't this be one of the solutions that we offer and give some people in our town hope? Those people who are going to sit on a waiting list for years and years and years and never get to the top. I would stress that we need to do this. If anyone wants any help with any research, I'm happy to come and offer my support, free and gratis. So please put your backs behind this research and make sure that we get a report to the committee within 6 months, as the motion asks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harvey to speak. In your own time, Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Over many years, and through numerous administrations, we have successfully delivered affordable housing, supported by excellent officers, and the will to see this council lead the housing agenda with our partners. What we need now to address the growing need for affordable housing is that kind of leadership again. This is not about passing the buck to other developers or deliverers of housing. We're talking about a far more proactive and engaged process where this council actively works in partnership to lead on this issue, delivering homes itself. The fact that Manydown has not been delivered is having a huge impact. The annual monitoring report tells us that only 1,210 homes are predicted to be built on Manydown up to 2029. We've given permission for over 3,250 so far. That is a shocking failure. The AMR shows this council has given permission for 1,641 affordable homes in the last monitoring year. 1,408 of those are part of the Manydown planning permission. We're told we're only going to see 1,210 homes built till 2029. So the claim is totally misleading. How in the world do you think you can get 1,408 out of 1,210 in those years is beyond belief. It just doesn't add up. That means only 233 affordable homes have actually been given permission across all other sites in this last year. Meanwhile, the actual delivery of affordable homes is down 40%. We've delivered only 283 affordable homes, and 60% of them were flats. We're delivering less, approving even fewer when you consider that not one house has been built on Manydown in 28 years. The High Court judge told us to develop Manydown, all of it. When we held the transfer of council housing referendum in the early 90s, people were promised that Manydown would deliver new council housing. They voted 52% to 48% to sell their homes to housing associations on the Conservative promise of new council homes being delivered with that money. Manydown's bought for the express purpose of development, and none of our communities would now have to be suffering speculative development if it was being delivered as promised. Every village that currently feels the pressure of development, every community in our town facing speculative development, can point to the games that were played over Manydown over many years. This motion seeks to kickstart a drive that this council leads to seek to deliver homes that were promised all those years ago and are desperately needed now. This links to a genuine policy of regeneration, and it needs to be far better planned than speculative opportunities based on approaches where communities like Winkleberry feel they're being done to rather than worked with. We say we can do an awful lot better, and this motion is just the start. And we hope, and I support the motion, and I hear exactly what the mover of the motion has said, that this can lead to something very positive, that our council can set an agenda again that can give people confidence that we're going to lead the housing agenda and not be led by developers and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. I now have Councillor Jones. Good evening, Tony, when you're ready.
Thank you, Leader. I'll try not to repeat some of the stuff that's going on. The reason I come along tonight is, one, because we did have cross-party support on this. It's really important. As people know, I have been around a little while, and it's quite good to see people actually now getting the idea that this thing's going wrong. We keep on making out, aren't we doing well? Well, we're not. It's quite straightforward. What I've come here, I'd like to see long-term policies for housing, where we can control our housing, not housing associations. As much as they do a good job, we could do a better job, and we know we can. We're having problems in certain areas with housing associations because of lack of money and everything else. We need to settle down and actually get control of what's actually happening in Basingstoke. We've got private rented people. They're being told by our officers, rightly so, don't knock the officers for saying it, it's cheaper to rent in Andover. That's losing our communities. We shouldn't have to do that. And I feel we should be going down the road of building our own, but other people want to buy and they can't afford to. Perhaps we should be looking at land we own, lease it so we can build on it, so these people can actually afford a house there. Because it's not just one thing in this town. The town has been built up over a number of years, and it was very successful. You know, we got partners with, well, at the time, London County Council, but the local people had a say in it. They had so many houses were built, they were for local people. We should be doing that here, and I'm afraid that's not happened. And all we're doing now is playing roundabouts. Oh, you're suitably housed, you're in a private rent, costing you a fortune. You know, we should be looking at how are we going to deal with those people later on if they can't afford. They then go back on the list and wait. They're the things we should be looking at. I'd like a comprehensive review of the whole housing structure in this council as part of this thing, so we can see where we're going and what we're doing. I think to be honest, you'd get full support from all quarters because, you know, you live in a village. We've heard it for years. Oh, I can't get people for local. I come from Southam, funny enough, and I actually represent them now. But there's families there, been there for years. When their children grow up, they end up going somewhere else. And if they're not lucky enough to get a housing association house, they might move to Andover or something, not out of choice, out of need. And we should be looking at that. And I'll leave that with you. But if you ever want any more advice from me, just ask, because I'm quite passionate about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Your passion is always recognised in this chamber, I have no doubt. If I could ask the portfolio holder, Councillor Carr, to comment.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And I thank Councillors Slimin, Harvey and Jones for their contributions this evening. As has been acknowledged, this council has a strong record of affordable housing delivery. And we are committed to working with partners and communities to deliver new affordable homes. Further to full council's agreement to this affordable homes motion, I will liaise with my officers on the preparation of a paper as requested by members. This paper will be offered to EPH for consideration within the period outlined within the adopted motion. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carr. That finishes item 6. We move on to item 7, which is connected to item 8. It is my intention to take all speakers on both items together rather than any repeats. At the moment, I only have Councillor Harvey down to speak to both. So we'll just have one round of speakers, if that's all right by everybody. So first of all, though, I'll start with Councillor Lee, then Councillor Harvey, then Councillor James. Alex, do you want to join us? Good evening. When you're ready.
Thank you very much, Leader. It doesn't seem that long ago when I was here before this Cabinet to talk on an agenda item in which I also expressed my concern as to the point of being a councillor when decisions taken by you as a collective seem to ignore those of us elected to represent residents of this borough. Yet here I am again, fully expecting to reiterate that view. At the last full council meeting of last year, councillors across the political spectrum expressed their frustration with this master plan due to it lacking in scope, ambition, or a vision for the future. And I agree with them. We, as a borough, could do so much more than what is set forth in this document. In addition to promoting physical health, improved leisure facilities can also have a social and economic benefits. These facilities provide a space for people of all ages to come together and engage in recreational activities. They can be a hub for social interaction and can help build a sense of community. They can also be a source of economic activity, as people may choose to visit our borough, specifically to use the facilities here, and, with improved links, the town centre. Now, as it stands though, the master plan fails to meet this goal. Despite the borough's growth, key facilities are not included that would encourage local and regional residents to use them. We could entice people with state-of-the-art modern facilities. With a larger 50-metre pool and an upgraded ice rink, we could host regional or national sporting events. A multifunctional stadium could serve both as a home for Basingstoke Town Football Club and a venue for exhibitions and concerts. We could have a vision for the future, all with climate change in mind, but the current plan misses opportunity after opportunity. Now, the report itself says that an option discounted was not to adopt a master plan to guide future development at the leisure park, that this would mean that any development would be piecemeal and that the opportunity to improve the communal areas and infrastructure of the leisure park would be lost. But the current proposals are exactly that, piecemeal. There is an expectation for current providers to improve the condition of their facilities, but no recourse to make them to do so. We can end up with a leisure park that has a new and old buildings and an offering that is not joined up in its delivery or what attractions are available. But what frustrates me the most is that despite the motion requesting a number of different actions take place, this inadequate plan is sat before you today with a recommendation for approval. The same document, because I see no significant changes, if there are any, to the plan that was discussed with councillors in October. In the foreword to the report, the Cabinet member responsible for this regeneration says we have listened and ensured that these priorities are reflected in the master plan. But I disagree, and so does everyone who voted for the motion previously discussed. At every stage that this has been discussed by councillors, from the meeting in October through EPH and CEP and at full council, it seems that advice and guidance from members is being willfully ignored. The motion set forth in item 7 isn't trying to stop a master plan from being developed. We all agree that the leisure park needs to be improved and enhanced, but it needs to be much better than what is being proposed here.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. Remember, you also agreed with the motion, a motion that requests that you as a Cabinet to ask officers to review the leisure park redevelopment plans, to engage further with EPH committee with regard to updated plans, with a commitment to explore a number of areas. None of this has been conducted, and therefore, if this report is approved today, it makes a mockery of the system that we seek to uphold, and it goes against the will of the people. Unless I am wrong, of course, and in actual fact, I'm going to hear shortly that the Cabinet will not approve the master plan in its current form and will guide it back to officers to have the conversations and present something back that is accepted by the majority of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Leader. New River Retail's glossy pictures of zip slides, a retail paradise and big buildings has, I feel, certainly poisoned the approach to the leisure park. It feels as if that debacle has sucked the life out of any ambition and we're happy with whatever we can get from the market. And I keep hearing the word the market is going to rule. That's how the council's current approach comes over to people across the borough. We want to see the art of the possible, but be far more aspirational. We want to believe that the opportunity exists to make the leisure park, as a key part of our wider vision for the town and borough, a really amazing place. We share that ambition. It cannot be a standalone project. We're calling for a far more joined up vision, a bigger, better direction for the town and the borough. You're talking here about a framework. The question for us all is what comes next? And whether the Cabinet are listening to the voices of people all calling for something better. Let's find our ambition again. I respect that the same people that brought us New River are still involved, but we do need to move on. The idea of a multi-use community sports hub and event space has a lot of support and should be added to the mix of assessed proposals. We need to know who you are talking to about coming to the leisure park and how that shapes a more detailed plan over a decade. It isn't going to happen overnight. But the essential pieces of the puzzle, such as a new aquadrome leisure centre, need to be very carefully planned to meet the people's expectations. Look at what our neighbours have achieved, such as Winchester. And we say we need a bespoke and an aspirational offer for our borough that meets our ambitions and our aspirations and attracts people to our leisure park and offers local people the value, the accessibility, the inclusivity of leisure that we're all looking for. The motion seeks to push the Cabinet in that direction, and I hope you're listening.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harvey. Councillor James. Good evening, Gavin.
Good evening. Work. I should know by now. Good evening, Leader and Cabinet. How lovely to be here. You all look marvellous tonight. So much better than your master plan, I have to say, which I've read with great disappointment, as everyone else has. I started by reading from the back, as I normally do. I like sports, so I always read newspapers from the back to front, so I do the same with your reports. And so I got to read the site analysis. And we've heard about this listening, or we've listened to what people have said. And I looked at the site analysis, and it came up with a number of interesting things. The people who use the site, the other venues on the site, suggested one of the big problems is congestion near McDonald's, KFC. I've been there as a leisure park visitor and as a McDonald's queuer, and it is a problem and it disrupts the site. Your master plan just ignores it. It's a big issue, but don't worry, that's not in the master plan. Concern was expressed over antisocial behaviour around the car parks, particularly the car park at the north of the site, the one behind the Aquadrome and ice rink. That's the car park that's staying, because we've ignored that issue. It's not addressed in the master plan. There was concern that's expressed by people who use the park and also people who run the leisure facilities that accessing the front doors of venues is very difficult. That car park's right at the back. You've got to walk down very steep steps in the dark, down a corridor to get to the front, and that was a really horrible setup. That's the car park we're keeping. We've not addressed that at all in the master plan. It also, the other leisure operators on the site suggested that it really needs a lot of close working with Festival Place, their ambitions, and how we make sure that if you want a small indoor venue, clearly there are units in Festival Place that may be better suited and more gettable to. And clearly this site is more suitable for the larger outdoor, such as the sporting arenas and things like that, where you couldn't possibly whack them into the ground floor of Debenhams. Again, the master plan kind of just really ignores all of that. So it didn't listen to councillors, and I sat on the leisure park map, and I don't think this reflects any of our conversations at all. So it ignored councillors, which of course that's the gift of the majority. It's unfortunate, it's the way democracy works, that the majority can ignore the opposition if they so wish, but it also ignores the leisure park operators and the leisure park users. So we say we listened, we really didn't. And that's a really sad place to be 10 years after we started. When it was presented to us on the 22nd of October, I asked how much we'd spent on consultants to get to this point. I've not had a response, so I'm left to the normal politician resort of completely guessing. So we've spent 10 years and £3 million of taxpayers' money getting to a document that says it's a linear site, which we knew, it's got some leisure facilities on it, which we knew, some are dated, we knew, it could fit in some more, which we also knew. So I'm very disappointed. I don't think you should be adopting it tonight. I think you need to send it back, start again, take a wider look at where we really want to see leisure in this borough in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor James. As we said earlier, we've got apologies from Councillor Isett, but I do have some words from him, which is partly a bit of an introduction, but actually partly also some of my thoughts as well. I also think that it's really important that we don't bandy £3 million around as an amount when we don't know the answer to it. So actually, it could be £3, Councillor James, rather than £3 million. So I think I will ask the Chief Exec to make sure you get an accurate answer to that, rather than trying to bandy a big number around. So Councillor Isett has told me he's delighted to recommend to the Cabinet to go forward with a new master plan to totally transform the leisure park. Councillor Isett has been holding this project for a while, and actually nobody understands, like Councillor Isett, that there's a real opportunity here to bring amazing leisure attractions to our residents, visitors and their families. We can at the same time invest in what's already there and supplement what are already very popular activities. People will be aware that it is our emerging capital programme that's making an allocation of over £4 million for a new aquadrome. This is not about doing nothing. This is not about coming up with mediocre facilities. An additional £20 million in improvements across the leisure park. £20 million investment in the leisure park. The master plan is a framework allowing us to select the best mix of new attractions in the market to complement the existing ones. The level and quality of the interest is encouraging. It doesn't need a framework to work out a filter that says, should that interest go in the town centre or should that interest go into the leisure park? Our investment as a council will add a raft of free activities. The paper suggests that these could include things like a big event space, bouldering, parkour, adventure play, outdoor event spaces, and a BMX trail. I fully understand councillors' strong desire that the new leisure park should be a regional draw as expressed in the recent council motion. But let's be clear, The framework does not mean the things that are articulated in the motion cannot happen. Officers and Councillor Isaac will of course engage further with committee colleagues on the master plan as it develops. Making the leisure park as sustainable as possible, including travel options and enhanced links to the town centre, are and always have been a priority. Planning the improvements to the cycling and walking route between the leisure park and Basingstoke town centre are already well advanced. Maximising the carbon neutrality is at the heart of the new vision for the leisure park. We are already very clear on our need for such standards as BREEAM Outstanding or Excellent, which are standards which are much discussed at this council. These leisure facilities should be no different. Always looking at the sustainable construction of a building, its energy efficiency and opportunities to generate its own energy are no longer add-ons in this council, but are our standard streams of work. A great deal has been achieved in bringing forward this master plan framework. Residents have, whilst I've been leader, given me one very clear message. Stop talking about it and get on with it. Get on with delivering new attractions, get on with new investment in the leisure park, and get on with delivering new jobs. That's what this master plan does. That's what our emerging capital programme does. It's a framework. It doesn't exclude anything that some of the visiting councillors have expressed. Our focus in 2023 now needs to be on selecting and delivering the best attractions across Basingstoke Leisure Park. So I ask my Cabinet colleagues, do I have your agreement to the recommendations on page 14 of our pack? Agreed. Thank you very much. That's the end of our meeting for this evening. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Thank you, everybody.